Today, why smart people lose arguments, why being right isn't enough. Imagine spending hours preparing for an important conversation. You gather facts, you read articles, you check the evidence, you organize your thoughts carefully. You know you're right. Then the conversation begins. You explain everything clearly. You answer every question. You support your opinion with logic. And somehow, you still lose. Not because your facts were wrong, not because your arguments were weak, but because the other person walked away believing exactly what they believed before the conversation started. If this has ever happened to you, you're not alone. In fact, some of the smartest people lose arguments every single day, not because they lack intelligence, but because they misunderstand something fundamental about human psychology. We often assume that people make decisions based on logic, that if we simply provide enough evidence, others will naturally change their minds. It sounds reasonable, but human beings don't work that way. The human brain is not a truth-seeking machine. It is, first and foremost, a survival machine. Long before humans debated politics, science, or philosophy, our ancestors faced a much simpler challenge: stay alive. For thousands of years, survival depended on belonging to a group. If your tribe accepted you, you had protection. You shared food, you hunted together, you raised children together. Being rejected wasn't just emotionally painful, it could mean death. Our brains evolved to protect our place within the group. And surprisingly, they still do. Today, when someone challenges one of our deeply held beliefs, our brain often reacts as though our social identity is under attack. This reaction happens almost instantly. Before logic has a chance to step in, imagine someone saying, "Everything you've believed about success is wrong." They're not attacking your intelligence, but your brain interprets it as something much more personal: your experiences, your choices, your identity. This is one of the biggest reasons arguments fail. Most conversations are not battles over facts. They are battles over identity. And once identity enters the conversation, logic alone becomes surprisingly weak. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon for decades. One concept that helps explain it is called cognitive dissonance. Imagine believing something for 20 years. Now imagine someone presents convincing evidence that your belief is false. What happens? Many people assume you'll simply update your opinion, but that's rarely what occurs. Instead, your brain experiences psychological discomfort, almost like an internal tension. Accepting the new information would mean admitting that your previous belief was mistaken. For some people, that doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels threatening. To reduce this discomfort, the brain often chooses the easier path. Instead of changing the belief, it rejects the evidence. Have you ever noticed someone dismissing reliable information simply because it didn't fit their worldview? You've probably seen it online. You may have seen it in your own family. And if we're honest, we've all done it ourselves at some point. Another fascinating concept is motivated reasoning. We like to believe we think objectively, but research suggests something different. Very often, we begin with the conclusion we want. Then, we search for evidence to support it. In other words, our reasoning isn't always driven by truth. Sometimes it's driven by motivation. The more intelligent a person is, the better they often become at defending the beliefs they already hold. Not because those beliefs are correct, but because intelligence provides more tools for constructing convincing arguments. Think about lawyers. Two experienced lawyers can examine the exact same evidence. One argues for the prosecution, the other argues for the defense. Both are intelligent, both are persuasive, yet they reach opposite conclusions. Their intelligence doesn't remove bias, it simply gives them more sophisticated ways to support their position. This is why intelligence alone doesn't guarantee open-mindedness. In some cases, it makes people even more resistant to changing their minds. Communication researchers have discovered something equally important. People are far more likely to reconsider their opinions when they feel understood first. Imagine these two approaches. The first person says, "You're completely wrong." The second person says, "Help me understand why you see it that way." Which conversation would you be more willing to continue? The difference isn't the information, it's the emotional climate. Feeling understood lowers psychological defenses. Feeling attacked raises them. This is one reason active listening is one of the most powerful communication skills ever studied.